Um, the Jarvises came here in 1854 and built this house. He built it himself, Mr. Jarvis, with Granville Jarvis. And he's been here ever since. So it's over 150 years old. It's 99% original. So you're walking on the same floors. They had the wallpaper is reproduced back up to exactly what was here when they built the house. The colors are the colors they chose for their house. Now, I did replace the windows recently, but the doors are the originals, and they let a lot of cold air in. But the story begins with Anne Marie Reeves Jarvis. She was born in Culpeper County, Virginia, and her father was a Methodist minister. At the age of 12, he was transferred. They all came together. He was transferred, and she came along over the western mountains of Virginia to a place called Philippi, which is 12 miles down the road. She was raised up in Philippi, and so Granville Jarvis, the father of Anna, was born right down here in a place called Pruneytown. His father happened to be a Baptist minister, and he too was asked to go to Philippi, where they built the church and ministered it. So Granville and Anne met and married in 1850. They had 2 children. When a friend was telling them about this little community called Webster, he said, "You need to move there. It is growing in leaps and bounds." So we look around today and we kind of chuckle because there's nothing here. But when they arrived here in Webster, there was 43 families, a big woolen mill, grist mill, hotel, a boarding house, a bordello saloon, and 3 churches. Now what we have left today is the house and 2 churches. We have the Methodist and the Baptist. That's all that's left of everything that was here at that time, other than other houses. The real reason it was booming wasn't because of the people or the businesses, it was the road. It was called the Wheeling-Stanton Pike, and it was considered to be one of the safest, directest routes to travel from north to south. And this is also why President Abraham Lincoln sent General George B. McClellan here to keep that back door to the south open during the Civil War. Now you stepped up, he put his mercantile business across the road, but you stepped on the porch and it was called a whistleway. And it was called that because if you look out the window there, you're going to see a door going down the steps. That's where Mrs. Jarvis's summer kitchen was located. If you happen to have any servants or slaves, you would ask them to whistle as they carried the food from the summer kitchen into the house, so you'd know that they weren't nibbling on the food. Well, they could have nibbled any time, but that's why it's called a whistleway. And behind there is the buggy back where they parked their buggy to walk into the whistleway. Now as you come into the kitchen, you'll notice that you're in the kitchen, number one. The first thing that we did was we restored the house and we started collecting things. So we've got 5,050 items in this museum. Everything is donated in memory of someone they love. So we take very good care of everything. We don't let it get damaged or broken. We don't ask you not to touch things. So in this room we have the 2 tables that belong to the Jarvises. The older utensils you see hanging, the 2 washboards and the little washboard and tub here is also theirs. Now you can kind of tell that the Jarvises were a little wealthier than the average farmer or villager. And another way is she kept a real pineapple up in her pie saver to let people know that she could afford to feed you. Go ahead and stay for a meal. Because the families were so large in those days, it was hard to feed them and your farm hands. So if you could feed another person, you were considered a little wealthier. Now, and so we have a fake one now. Now the door over here goes into the pantry, or what they call it is the larder room. It would be where she kept those crocks that you see, but we are now using it as storage. I finally had